So the Chiffon Network to me was kind of an honoring that we are all linked somehow by our difference, like a parachute drapes over all the queers. And it's about not diminishing my queerness, but praising it and singing to it, giving it worship.
We record this podcast on Gadigal land in Sydney and pay our respects to all First Nations elders, healers, and storytellers. As therapists, we recognise the wisdom that lives in land, body, and spirit, as well as the queerness that runs through nature's veins. This always was, always will be Aboriginal land. Welcome to the Gestalt Me Gently podcast. My name's Dabaco Sunset. I'm here with my queer compadre, Mathew Bergan, and we are starting a conversation on all things Gestalt therapy, queerness, and the big movers and shakers in the zeitgeist. And I always like to start my sessions by asking how people are arriving, and that's exactly what I'm going to do to you, Matt.
Thank you for bringing me into this moment and the opportunity to check in with my nervous system. It feels great to arrive with you here, but I'm also smelling this lovely sweet cinnamon tea that's brewing to my right here. It's like a spiced Bengal spice tea, and then it's calling me. It's definitely calling me. So I'm noticing that my olfactory system's been stimulated.
Delicious. Don't spill the tea yet. We're going to save that till later in the podcast.
Okay. Okay, I won't spill the tea. I'm also noticing my face is a little bit tingly because I just had a facial. So I'm feeling
What kind of facial?
It's a very authentic facial. There's no extracurricular activity. It was
all above board.
All above board, creams and potions, and it's my secret weapon, Dabaco. I know you're always wanting to ask me what's my secret weapon and why do I look so young when I'm so ancient, but a girl's got a secret.
You certainly have a few secrets. All I have is a Zoom touch-up filter, but I need to get in touch with your facialist extraordinaire.
Yeah.
And as you check in, I really notice, the invitation and the awareness raising in my body as you name the sit bones and you name the tingles. And I'm really aware of a presence in the front of my body, particularly in the upper part of my chest, some excitement, some leaning in to this new experience that we're sharing together. The birth of the Gestalt Me Gently podcast, there's excitement there. I notice a smile wanting to continue to flourish on my face, and also feeling my sit bones in my swivelly chair and my feet planted down on the ground. Actually, I have a little secret underneath my desk. I have a lovely, bright, spiky green ball that I love to play tootsies with. This is actually something that our dear friend Nala got me onto. It is an incredible little secret thing that keeps me present and grounded when I'm doing my Zoom sessions with clients. I kind of roll that up and down. Kind of looks like, almost looks like a dog toy, but I'm sure it's not just for dogs because I'm playing with it.
Yeah, no, I like that. That definitely was a secret weapon because that for me would be good with my ADHD, that I can kind of keep my part of my body busy and stay focused enough and concentrate in the moment, in the here and now. So you've given me an idea for something special there. So thank you.
We all have a few tricks up our sleeves as therapists, and maybe we will allow our dear listeners to peek behind the curtains of our queer-affirming therapy boudoir. I think
Boudoir.
it's probably a good idea to talk a little bit more about the work that we do and introduce ourselves. I'm wondering if you might want to, speak to the type of therapy that you do, Matt, and a little bit of, how you got into this point. And I won't prompt you too much. Take it away with a bit of an introduction.
Sure. Well, I'm going to start with a sip of my Bengal spice tea.
The tea is being sipped.
Ah, just taking that moment just for my nervous system to settle, just knowing well that, I'm holding myself in this moment and,
Mm.
just being conscious of what it feels like to be in relation with you. So I'm kind of, getting a nice kind of vibe here of my own comfort factor kicking in. Um, Gestalt psychotherapy to me, uh, the kind of work that I'm offering is queer affirming. And I think that's what, has drawn us together in that sense. And it's also for me I'm calling myself an elder. Fuck it, I'm 60 in a couple of months. And I've got a few kilometers under the belt and, have done some living through, a gay queer lens. And so I feel that I use my capacity to hold other queers in the world or LGBTQ plus. Sometimes I just get a bit lazy with the alphabet. So I'm really sorry if I appear lazy, but sometimes I might just say queers and I hope I don't offend people, or if I say LGBTQIA plus, and that's kind of just an acknowledgement of language. Um, and so I support people of all ages actually, young clients, 18, 19, coming into the world. I volunteer my services at ACON, supporting um, all aged queers. As a therapist, as a counselor, as a psychotherapist, I come to people in ways that I can hold them in the here and now. And that's been the wonderful teachings that I've learned through Gestalt, is just what's it like when two individuals come together and bring their fields of experience and their lived experience into the here and now. So, I feel it's a superpower having this kind of queer life. I've been queer. Well, I did the math on it. I think I came out at 20. So that means I've been queer for 40 years.
You
Um,
have crunched the numbers, and that's well and truly, a couple score, as they say in the old
yeah.
time.
I reckon I'm due for like a gold set of plates and some steak knives or something for 40 years queer.
I mean, it's
Um,
the least we can do. The rich tapestry that you've weaved through queer community is something to behold. And, as you talk about your, therapy work, I also am reminded of all the other extracurricular, artistic, creative outputs of yours, like queer sound healing, the different editions you've done of that. And yeah, I'm wondering if you wanted to speak just really briefly about some of
oh.
that work as well.
Yeah, queer sound healing came out of COVID as a way to stay connected to community, for people to stay connected when we couldn't meet on the dance floor, but we could meet online. And so it was an opportunity to what I call narrational therapy, which let's call it narrated therapy. Narrational therapy is a different kind of therapy. Um, and it was just the opportunity to write a story about resilience and self-love, self-care during a time where everything was turned upside down, i.e. COVID. And then was able to work with Johnny Seymour and Paul Mack from Stereogamous,
Icon
around
icons of the
icons,
Sydney dance
queer icons,
community.
queer
Mm.
icons. And they bring a lot of magic to the dance floor here in Sydney and a lot of love to people's ears. And their beautiful messaging is all around love and support. It's not ever anything other than let's get you into a nice felt space on the dance floor. So,
Mm.
that's what I thought was really important during COVID. Um, so yes, Queer Sound Healing had a wonderful little life, and I got to present it at Vivid and Adelaide Arts Festival and um, Sydney Mardi Gras Festival, and had a wonderful kind of lifespan. And I still have it on the back burner, and still write and think music and ideas. How
Mm.
about you, my dear? I'm curious to know, a little bit about
Yes,
Dabaco's
my
queerness.
introduction, my queerness. Look, so my name's Dabaco, a name I actually gifted myself a few years ago now, and had a lovely ritual and journey stepping into, yeah, what it means to choose a name for myself and all the capacity and letting go of things that no longer serve me, that comes with that process. I, um, I would say I really got in touch with my queerness fully, deeply from an embodied place when I moved over to Berlin. I lived there for 4 years and immersed in the best of, the culture, the parties, the sex, the substances, the community, the dance. And that was a beautiful, expansive playground for me to really find my queer feet and kind of figure out what I want, what I like, what works for me, what excites me, what arouses me, and also letting go of things that aren't kind of so alive for me, shall we say. And I came back to Sydney. This was end of 2019, and I really wanted to let go of my media career that had served me up until that point, and yeah, it was just in time for some Sydney bushfires and then pandemic. But through that, kind of got gifted this opportunity to do some counseling study, and we've had this lovely journey together, Matt,
Mm,
of s- of study in parallel, side by side, supporting one
mm.
another. We did that embodied counseling certificate, and also went through,
2022, I think that was. Yeah.
yeah, or maybe even 2021.
Right.
Um, and then, yeah, we went through TRIA, our Gestalt therapy training together. And that's, yeah, been such a rich journey for me to become a psychotherapist, but also a personal development opportunity going through all this group process, many, many hours of group process and my own therapy. And yeah, so now I'm, going side by side with you on this new wave of queer affirming therapists, particularly here in Sydney, but I'm seeing clients all around the country with the benefit of Zoom.
Yeah.
But yeah, what really excites me is how Gestalt and queerness and the diversity of labels, or letting go of certain labels. There's a real freedom and yeah, aliveness that I experience with Gestalt therapy. I think it marries so beautifully with queerness and sexuality, and that's the space that really kind of excites me. And particularly, you know, not only working with one-on-one clients, but I love working with couples and relationships,
Mhm.
and really interested in open relating, ethical non-monogamy. And part of the reason why is because when I was looking for couples therapists, when I was in a relationship wanting that support, I couldn't find a good therapist, and it kind of created
Mm,
this drive in me to fill that space and create more support for community as,
mm,
ethical non-monogamy and open relating becomes a lot more common and socially
mm.
acceptable, and quite, yeah, quite popular in particularly queer community.
Beautiful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so that's a
Thanks.
little bit of where I'm at.
Yeah.
And I'm
Thanks for sharing
excited
that.
about this podcast. I'm excited about what we'll be able to explore and unpack and share about the inner workings of, the modality of Gestalt, but also queerness. And I feel like, we might invite some guests along on our journey as
Mm.
well to get their wisdom and insight and life experience.
Absolutely. I think we've got a lengthy list of queers, fellow queers that we can bring into our nest and yeah, sit with them and learn from them and yeah, ask them deep questions about their therapeutic processes and their history of Gestalt psychotherapy. And
Mm.
yeah, and that kind of, what is queer to them? What does that mean to them to work? And some of them sit on this the guests that I'm thinking of, some of them um openly queer, and then some of them I think are um,
Queer
I think
adjacent.
queer adjacent. Now there's a new one on me. Thank you,
We love
honey. I
that.
like that. Queer adjacent. See, this is what I love about queer because there's a capacity for it to stretch in many directions and the capacity for it to be undefinable at the same time.
Yeah, it's
So
like
yeah, no, this
sexually
is great.
sexually
Yeah.
queer, there's political queerness, there is, you know, the social agitation queer. I feel like there's so many different ways of seeing the world in, non-stereotypical, non-cookie mold kind of ways, and that's what I love exploring and chatting about and seeing how that can show up in the therapy space as well. Maybe we can talk a little bit about what the F is Gestalt therapy, because I'm imagining there's some,
Mm,
people that have stumbled across this podcast that may know you or I, or, you know, might even know a little bit about Gestalt, but, as a therapist, something that I'm often encountering is how do I do my elevator pitch of what is Gestalt, when a
mm,
potential client signs up for a consult call and is like, okay, but what even is this Gestalt therapy thing? I'm
mm,
curious, what's your experience been about the
mm.
the Gestalt therapy elevator pitch and how do you queer it up?
I bring in it's a relational approach. That there is two nervous systems in the room here, your nervous system, my nervous system, and there's a meeting of two nervous systems occurring.
Mm.
Um, and that I'm open to what you're saying, what you're feeling, but I'm also monitoring your nervous system and keeping you within the window of tolerance if need be, if there's something that is potentially triggering or traumatizing. And then I also mentioned that, my nervous system's in the room as well, there to reflect, there to hold. So I kind of bring a little bit of that in. And then I also talk about, embodiment, the phenomenology of Gestalt and just how it's a very beautiful ancient system that we have, hardwired in our mammalian brain and body and nervous system. So that's data that we work with. We might ask the body, what's the body noticing when you talk about X? And then that's something that we might, tap into in a session. Um,
Mm.
and I'm also mindful not to kind of bamboozle them with too much um, woo woo, I guess. And I don't think Gestalt is woo woo, but I'm also mindful that if I speak a lot in a context that they're not familiar with, that I might lose them. So it's a bit of a
Yeah.
dance. It's a bit of a
It
fine
can
dance.
be a
But
bit of a dance. I
yeah, how
actually
about you?
it's funny you mentioned the bamboozling because that's an experience that happened to me quite early in my Gestalt, uh, career and consult calls. I think I just must have gone on a bit of a rant, a passionate rant about Gestalt,
Mm,
but might have slipped in a few too many specific vernacular that did bamboozle this potential
mm,
client. They were like, I didn't understand most of what you said, and it's actually really confused me and frustrated me. And I really appreciated their honesty in that moment.
yes.
And, we were able to realize there was a rupture there and we could have a repair
Nice.
process. And also, it became clear that just the way our different styles weren't quite matching up. And that's the beautiful thing about a free consult call, right? You get
Mm,
a chance to talk to one another and just see if there's already a bit of shorthand or understanding, or
mm,
if you're kind of speaking different languages and maybe I'm not the right therapist for you, and
mhm,
that's okay. Some people like a little bit more CBT, like cognitive
mhm,
behavioral therapy analysis, and I'm maybe a little bit more somatic,
uh-huh,
gestalty, dare I say, at times a little bit woo woo. So, there's different strokes for different folks there, but I try and keep it pretty simple when I'm doing
yeah.
my elevator pitch now. It
Mhm,
sounds something like Gestalt is a relational style of talk therapy where, we're interested in what's going on in the here and now in between therapist and client, because that gives an opportunity for, what happens in this microcosm between us
mhm,
and in the therapy room could be. hinting at or familiar to patterns or ways of being that shows up for the client out there in the macrocosm, in the big wide world. So
I love the
you know,
microcosm, macrocosm analogy.
I find that's handy. It's like creating a reference of how does what goes on in the therapy room help me out there in the real world. Well,
Yeah.
it's kind of like we're looking under the microscope in here, and that could very well be showing up out there as well. So that's my simple starting point. I'm curious how that lands for you, and also people that are having a listen right now, if it makes sense. I always throw that in at the end of my elevator pitch as well. Is that landing? Does that make sense for you?
Right. How is that for you? Yes. I
Yeah.
think that's a kind of Gestalt vernacular as well. How is this
Mm.
moment between me and you landing?
But I mean, there's so many big concepts as well in Gestalt, like phenomenology and the cycle of awareness, creative adjustments, egotism,
Yeah.
retroflexion. There's all this stuff that, to be honest, like, yes, we learned about it and it's there somewhere, but 90% of the time I'm interested in presence, I'm
Yeah.
interested in contact, what is going on right now
Exactly.
here.
Yeah. Yeah. No, you're right. And I think your elevator pitch was clear. I think I received it. Smiley face. Um, I received it. It wasn't woo woo. It wasn't too flaky. I kind of, yeah, got that sense of, what's happening inside the room will be potentially a larger reflection of what's happening for you outside in the world. This is speaking to your client. And then as a therapist, you're there as a way to be a mirror and reflect back what you're noticing.
Mm.
Simple as that. And,
Did I gestalt you gently just then?
oh,
Is that what happened? I
is
think we
that cool?
successfully. I felt a cool whisper on
Down my neck.
your neck. That was the breeze saying, "Gestalt me gently."
Gestalt me gently, gestalt me gently. Yes. You did gestalt me gently, darling, and I loved it. You were
All
fabulous.
part of the service.
Yeah. Interesting, huh? Yes, it's a real elevator pitches and um I'm one for inclusion. Like I don't feel good when I lose people. People.
People and
Oh,
people.
people.
You can lose a
What a
people,
feel.
but it's
I'm
a
gonna lose a
lot to lose
people.
people.
There's something about me being a people pleaser, and I know that in my therapy is a big part of what I work on, to not just be the people pleaser, but in business, it's I gotta pay the rent. So
Sure, you
I
want those
I
clients to come back. You wanna continue the work.
yes, yes. So
It's a
there's something.
balance.
It's a balance, exactly. So being able to speak to the body of work in a way that is attractive and the word seductive comes to mind, but is also clear and yeah, giving people something to grasp onto. So the Gestalt Me Gentle title, ladies and gentlemen, and others, and he's and thens and others, and who did I leave out of that series of pronouns?
Your pronouns, brother, sister.
Oh yeah. Okay, yeah, no, I am flexible on this one. I've been going with brother, sister, other, just because
Yeah.
I honoring my anarchistic roots, have gone through the punk days, and I like social agitation, and that's
Mm.
is just in my blood. It just comes from my mother. I think it's some of the Irish ancestry. I don't know, but it's a blessing and a curse being anti-authoritarian, but brother, sister, other is a pronoun that I've sat with. It confuses people beautifully, but it's kind of in the they space. Look, it's the he, they space.
And it suits you
Um,
well. I'm going with the queer
you?
classic he, they, but I think brother, sister, other for you is mwah, chef's kiss.
Oh, thanks, doll.
I feel like we need to throw another queer firecracker into the fire just to kind of
Oh, let's
blast
do
a
it.
little bit of pink confetti and
Woo.
glitter around the place. Something that you poetically paint so beautifully in your queer sound healing is this idea of the chiffon network. And, we're
Oh.
both, I'm wondering if you could firstly introduce a bit of what the chiffon network is, but I'm also like wondering how we as queer affirming therapists that are, connected
Mm,
in with community, how that also weaves this tapestry. Take us on a
mm.
little bit of a journey on this concept of the chiffon network.
Yeah, look, it's really interesting. As soon as you said Chiffon Network, I felt my nipples stand up. I felt the hairs underneath my armpits kind of become alive. I felt the back of my spine broaden and open and like I was tall to the world.
Beautiful. The
So that
queer
was an
antenna has become erect.
zing, 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 zing-a-ling. Absolutely. So the Chiffon Network to me was, that I see you and I recognize you as a
Mm,
concept. And I think it's come from, the streets of being othered through our sexuality, through our difference, through our diversity, and that it's not safe to be out in the world fully 100% throughout history. We're kind of going back into another, god damn it, a weird part of history with
even
America.
today, I feel like, yeah, there's still moments where it could be in our best interest to cloak or to
Mhm.
assimilate or not stick out so bright in certain contexts.
Correct, in certain contexts,
Mm,
and in others, let it rip, I say. But
yeah.
so the Chiffon Network to me was kind of an honoring that we are all linked somehow by our difference, and that we can connect to one another if we choose to through recognizing our difference and stepping up into it. And that, yeah, it's something that I guess it's a playful thing. Like I saw it as a big chiffon network, a piece of fabric that like a parachute drapes over all the queers
Mm,
in the planet, and we can pray to it, we can call to it, um, and it's about not letting, not diminishing my queerness, but praising it and letting it and singing to it, giving it worship, and that has helped me in life hugely. But also, yeah, that when you tap into it, like I did in queer sound healing, that my father just had that very uncomfortable experience of putting my father into a nursing home, and
mm,
I just had to do it through a whole series of lies and deceit, and it was a really horrible experience, I've got to say. Tricking him into going into a nursing home, and I saw this lesbian in the lift, and I knew she was a lesbian because she looked like a lesbian. I don't have to explain it. And I can pick a lesbian. And I just plucked up the courage and I said, "This is a really shitty day for me. I've just,
mm,
I've just entered my dad into this complex. Um, I feel sad. I feel concerned about his health because let's face it, they're
mm,
not the best places to be in. And I just said to her, I said, I'm going to take a gamble here. I think we come from the same rainbow, I think is what I said. And she looked at me and was like, "What are you talking about, mate?" And then she goes, "Ah, I get it. You've mentioned rainbow." She kind of looked me up and down. And I said, Could I ask a favor from you? Could you please keep an eye on my father? Could you
mm,
please tend to his needs if you have the chance?" And she was like, "Sure, mate." Um, and so that was a little story where if I hadn't, I'm going to be emotional.
mm. Yeah, thank you for sharing
Yeah,
this, Matt. I'm feeling really
I
touched.
thank you, honey. And if I hadn't trusted my gut, um, he wouldn't have got that extra care.
Mm,
So yeah, the Chiffon network is like, and sometimes it can be there in just mysterious ways. And if you trust it and tune into it and have self belief, not diminish yourself, feel into it, lean into it, it can provide in beautiful, beautiful ways. And
mm.
crazy things can happen. And I've had upgrades on airplanes when you've got a shitty seat and you just kind of look another queer in the eye. Hello, darling. How's your day, darling? You just go there, just quickly go in and just see how it lands and see how they respond. And that's where I've learned to trust the Chiffon
Yeah.
network.
making those bids for connection and
Mm.
getting gifts back in return. And what a beautiful gift as a therapist to allow queer clients to tap into that Chiffon network. You said something so simple yet beautiful and touching in the beginning. You know, the Chiffon network allows um, that contact where someone can say, "I see you, I get you," and to me, like that is simply, you know, a great therapist in those few words. I see you, I get you, I'm
Yeah.
here with you. And for queer folk to be able to access that and
Mm.
feel the magic of the Chiffon network and be able to then carry that support fabric back out into the crazy, dare I say, crazy big world we live in is such a lovely gift.
Absolutely. Absolutely, D. Completely agree with you in that. And
Mm.
we don't have to explain anything. And sometimes in my therapy practice, how's our time, doll? How are we doing?
I think we're coming up to our 30-minute mark, maybe a little bit
Oh,
over now, but let's kind
okay.
of put in our final thoughts.
Okay, doll. Um, yeah, I was just gonna reflect that I see you, I hear you is so important. And it's always in a therapeutic environment with me, with another queer person, where I can talk about our difference and our difference being a strength. And I often remind my clients, we are living in a heteronormative society. That's what's different. And, we have the capacity to create our own reality inside inside our own chosen families, inside our own capacity to heal and work with self in a society that shuns us and reflects us, deflects us. So without
Mhm.
getting on too much of a rant, because I know we're closing up, I'm sure there'll be other opportunities to talk about that. But yeah, that's definitely kind of that holding, I think, and that belonging is gold.
Mm. And we are here to follow those golden nuggets. And,
Mm,
I'm just also feeling so grateful and honored to be, doing this work, having stumbled across Gestalt therapy, having that gentle hand of Kurt, who encouraged both of us to head towards Gestalt. So shout out to Kurt. And I
mm,
just, yeah, want to also acknowledge the queer lineage, the ancestors that have done the difficult work and persevered to get us to this point in
mm.
time. And yeah, I'm really excited for this journey that we're beginning together with our Gestalt Me Gently podcast. I think there's going to be very many nuggets of gold and rainbows
Yes.
and chiffon networks rippling through
Well,
the
that's
airway.
it. We've already had the birth of the Lauras, named after the infamous Laura Pearl. So
That's
I'm a
right.
big one in honoring the important women that have built pillars of society for me. So I'm all about the Laura factor, and yeah, bringing in all of that beautiful kind of excitement around Gestalt Me Gently. So on that gentle note, let's get excited about our next sessions and what we're going to bring. There's going to be magic. There's going to be beautiful, digestible nuggets and flavors coming your way. And yeah, thanks, listeners, for being with us today. And yes, on my parting note, I'm just kind of saying thanks.
Sending lots and lots of love from the here and the now, because that's all we got.
Mm. I'm feeling that contact high, baby. It's fabulous.
Excellent. Let's ride those highs. All right. Lots of love. Mwah.
Wow.
Until next
Wow.
time. Ciao.